Hello, everyone. I'm Janaína. This is Love and Relo. I'm your co-host for today. Hello, Ben. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Janaína. I'm just here in Detroit in the U.S. And where are you today?
I'm here in Rio. This is Love and Relo, and I'm from Rio. You guys are gonna learn this week.
I like it. I like it. This is a lot of fun. So here we are. It's the middle of our LATAM week, including Brazil, where we go to South America and we explore the different cultures and global mobility and perspectives and stories down with our friends down in South America. So far, we're halfway through the week, Janaina. What is your impression so far?
It's like I don't know. It's funny because the same way I'm like, oh my god, it's already Wednesday because I'm like I don't want to, at the same time that I want to get up to Friday. I'm just like I want this to keep going. It's been really awesome.
How is it? How is it different, or what? Is anything different than you thought it was going to be when we first set out to do this? You got 2 episodes under your belt. This is your third episode. Is there anything different about this or surprising?
I knew it was gonna be a great opportunity, but I wasn't expecting to be this nice. Like I've been talking with everyone that already participate, how they feel glad about the opportunity and how they love the experience, and everyone that it's about to participate. It's I think it's just like even better. I wasn't expecting people that will be everybody will be so engaged. All the feedbacks that I'm being receiving. Always when we end up, I spend like an hour and something after like just answer everyone because everyone is just like awesome, that's great, and like new connections. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, you're feeling the love, right? I mean, isn't it cool?
Exactly. And like people sometimes they ask me, oh, how was the idea? And for me it's just like I'm kind of getting it. I'm feeling really glad and honored because I feel that I'm connecting people, and it's such an amazing opportunity. It's awesome. Feels great. I'm really
Yeah.
excited.
Well, you're doing a great job, and we have a
Thank
bunch of
you.
people coming into the room now on LinkedIn, on Facebook. So, hey, if you're watching this right now, I want you, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, whatever, hit that like button right now. Okay, that lets everybody know that we are live. We got a few people on LinkedIn, not a lot. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, I see a few of y'all. Go ahead and hit that like button as well. That lets everybody know, hey, everybody, there's a party going on. It's like when you pass by a house and you hear the loud music and you see all the cars parked out front, and you're like, hey, what's going on in there? Let me go
Let's
see
see
what's
what's
up,
going on.
little carnival or something. Let's go see what's going on. And so hit that like button, hit that applause button. Real quick before we hop into our guest, and Jenna is going to tell us a little bit about our guest. But before we do that, I want to talk about our book club, book of the month for the month of July. Let's go ahead and talk about it. The book is called Fear is My Homeboy. Hey, Fear is My Homeboy. How to Slay Doubt, Boss Up, and Succeed on Your Own Terms by Judy Holler. If you want to holler at Judy, her email is hello@judyholler.com. We are going to have a bunch of folks coming on and talking about this on July 27th. So if you're interested in reading the book and discussing it here on Love and Relo, or as we say in South America, AMOR and Relo, let me know and or reach out to Janet, who's pictured here, lovely Janet, pictured, and let's get you set up to come on and talk about it. I think fear is our number one obstacle. I don't know about you, Jana, but I mean, and you're probably going through this like right now doing this program with me, which I applaud you so much for your courage. But do you ever feel like we are our own worst enemy sometimes in holding us back in life?
I completely believe that we are. If we have any enemies, we are the only ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely believe on that. Fear only keep us far from what we are supposed to reach.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and tell me a little bit about this guest, because this is a guest that you felt so excited to bring on today. So tell us about our guest today.
Yes, why I was excited because the first time when I saw her speaking about her company, I was just like, wow, this is really different. This is awesome. I don't know. I don't believe that. Maybe I will just guess wrong, but I don't believe people in global mobility are used to hear about her industry and all that, and that we have global mobility in her industry. So her the idea of bringing her came on my mind because I'm like, if I got really impressed, I'm sure everyone else will be. So I don't know. Ben, do you play games? Are you guys
I
into
mean, I'm
games?
playing games right now. I play games all the time. That's all I do is play games. I'm
No,
full.
but
I'm
I'm like,
100% shenanigans.
but like, what are you up to? Like, real time games, action, war, tennis playing.
I mean, no, not
Do you
tennis.
play?
Not role playing games. I mean, like I used to play video games back in the day. I used to play Madden. I used to play, which is like John Madden football, FIFA. You know, it was
Yeah,
probably as big as FIFA is in South America. John Madden football. 2021 just dropped, by the way. You know, I used to play games back in the day when I was a kid. I probably haven't played games like really since I was in college. Although I did buy a Wii when they came out, but
got
I
it.
really don't play games. I'll probably get back into it when my kids get into it, as far as like video games. Is that what you're talking about? Video games?
Yeah, games, any type of games on the computer, cell phone, mobile games. Now we are
Okay.
into mobile games, right? Everything.
Oh yeah.
So,
I do
yeah.
play mobile games. Yes, I do. I was like doing the Candy Crush for a minute. I was doing Toon Blast with my kids. Yeah, so yes, I do play some games.
So,
Do
yeah,
play some
talking
games.
about gaming, I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today, Marina. She comes from Wildlife, and please be welcome.
Hey
Hello,
Marina.
everyone. Hi,
Hi,
Ben.
Marina.
Hi,
Yay.
Jana. How are you?
Hello.
Nice to see you.
So nice of you to join us, Marina, and tell us a little bit. You know, where in the world are you right now, and kind of give us a little backdrop.
I'm in São Paulo, Brazil, around 500 kilometers from Jana. So I think Jana already introduced me. Thank you for this warm introduction. I'm so flattered about your comments. So I've been in this global mobility industry for almost 14 years. So I started when I was very, very young, as you can see. I decided to start in this area because I had experience of living abroad when I was 13. I lived in France, so I'm also a third culture person, as we learned in our first workshop. And then I became really fascinated about this interculturality theme, and I decided to study international relations. And then after I graduated, I lived in Canada as well for 1 year. So like Jana, I never felt back home again. So I'm a citizen of the world. And then I started working as an immigration advisor for about 5 years. And then I worked at BGRS for 7 years and a half. I learned a lot. I was actually the second employee at BGRS here in Latin America.
Wow.
And it was like a super exciting experience. And today I'm at Wildlife Studios, which is a startup and growing super fast and expanding very quick internationally. And we are one of the largest game developers in the world.
Wow.
We started here in Brazil, but now we have offices in the US. We have 3 offices there, 1 office in Ireland and 1 office in Argentina as well. And they needed someone to build their global mobility department, and here I am. I accept the challenge, and it's been amazing, super dynamic.
And how long are you with Wildlife?
Around 10 months.
Oh,
Around 10
awesome.
months. Yeah.
And if I made my research right, you guys are about to complete 9 years, or you have already 9 years, right?
Right. Yeah. The company started 9 years ago, but the international expansion started in 2019 with the first office in Dublin, and then we didn't stop.
Wow, so you guys are really growing really fast. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So how many countries do you have offices in, or how many offices do you have now that you support?
3 offices in the Silicon
Okay.
Valley, 1 office in Dublin, 1 in Argentina, and 1 in Brazil.
Nice.
So 4 countries.
All right. Jana, I'm gonna defer to you here, and since you've seen Marina speak, and you are a little more familiar with her program and everything, you know, I'm gonna let you kind of take over. But I did want to ask one question before I let Jana take over and take this where she wants to go with it, because you mentioned that you were employee number 2 for BGRS in South America. Now BGRS, or as we might call them still, Brookfield, up here in the States at least, is a major RMC, especially here in the Detroit area, a lot of client stuff, and people are very familiar with them. But you were employee number 2 down in South America. And so
Yes.
I'm always fascinated to compare and contrast, let's say North America and South America, right? And is the model different in South America? Are RMCs, which are very predominant relocation management companies, are they as big down in South America as they are up here in the States?
They tend to be smaller because in the States you have this domestic relocation of home purchase, home sale, which is not very common here in Latin America. So the teams here, they tend to be a little bit little, but we do have many challenges in terms of giving more support to the families in terms of destination services, because the challenge of the language or the services, they are not so self-service like in the US. So I think the scope is a bit different, and we tend to be a smaller team because of these concept we don't have here of home purchase and home sale. As I know, this is a very strong market there in the US, and that's not in Brazil or Latin America.
That's so interesting. So then does that mean a lot of companies manage their mobility, immigration, things like that in-house instead of outsourcing it, or through a set of individualized partners for different services instead of outsourcing the whole thing?
Yeah, we do have those companies that they don't want to invest much with a global relocation provider because they tend to have a smaller number of people moving into Latin America. So, and because they need to have a profit globally, so they don't want to spend too much money with those smaller clusters. I think I can say that. So that's why BGRS, we use it to have those global accounts, and we started appearing that back in 2012 when we were closing these global contracts. The clients start to demand a person seated in Latin America because our market is so different and we have so many nuances. And I think the client is starting to push these relocation companies to have physical presence in our region. As Africa, I think in Africa you don't have many relocations seated there as well. So I think we are gaining space. Now you have Cartels as well, you have Sirva, but this started back in 2012.
Okay. Interesting. And we got some people checking in here on the comments. I want to go ahead and shout those people out. I want to encourage you also as you're watching this, and I promise, Janine, I'm going to turn this over to you. I just want to make sure I honor these people over here real quick.
Sure.
I promise. So if you have any questions for Marina, please go ahead and leave them. We will make sure that we get to all of your questions as we go. She has great experience and perspective as a mobility practitioner in Brazil, being both on the corporate mobility management side and with the RMC, which is, I think, super awesome. So really quick, going through the comments here and checking in with everybody. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that applause button if you're watching. I seem to have a stalker here. She just keeps coming back.
I love your mom.
Yeah, she's great. And she's so punctual. She's like first up. She's like putting that comment in early. It's great. It's great.
Laís from Nubank.
Hi, Laís.
Hi, Laís.
Mariana.
Oh, Mariana, our first guest.
So, Fernando, who will be with us Friday for our happy hour.
Victoria here. Great show every day, learning new things globally. Still can't fix my photo. Hey, I get it. I feel you. There you go. Let's see here. Dubai checking in and from the Middle East, North Africa.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Sandra's loving the Latam focus this week. Thanks, Sandra. Appreciate you. Sandra has some great content, by the way. You should definitely follow her if you don't already.
I do.
You do? Yeah. Good.
Yes.
She's great. Let's see here. We've got another one here. This is, I think this is Juliana, actually, from yesterday checking in.
Hi, Juliana.
Why is she LinkedIn user?
I don't know. She's anonymous here.
Ooh.
Oh, we got a question here. All right, you want to take this question now, or you want to save it for the end, Jana?
Yeah, well, actually, I was gonna to start asking about the policy, and okay, let's make this. Let's start it. Okay, so Marina, you come with this whole experience, as Ben already said, from corporate, from the service provider. How was, or can I say how it is? As you didn't complete a year yet, but how was to start to work with a startup? What are the difference on policies,
Right.
benefits? How was the first impression when you start with this new challenge?
Okay, so usually when we talk about startups, we are talking about a business that is growing exponentially and at a rate of 40-50% a year, for example. So you have to deal with several urgent items at the same time, and and balance all of them. And besides the fact of being a startup, we are also in the tech industry, and in that industry, being fast is crucial for success. So we have to innovate and we have to be fast, because otherwise the projects you are working on will be outdated, or someone will go there and just do it before you. So everything is urgent and everything is a priority. And imagine you are building a structure department, or you are building a policy, but the business itself, it's already up and running, and it's running super fast. So you will probably have to recreate all the process you have designed the following month or the following week. You can be too attached to those strategies you develop because it is a constant challenge of creating new paths and revisiting what you have created, and you have to be open to change that all the times. And I think when you are in a traditional company, for example, because I work at BGRS, you have all the process super well established, and with traditional companies that had their policies super like a 40-page policy. They thought about every single scenario. So someone has already gone through all these steps and implementations, and the procedures are there. They are established, they are tested, and it's difficult to change them. You will probably recommend an improvement or raise an exception, but the process, they are already there and determined. And when you are in a startup, you are just creating everything and recreating. So it's kind of, you launch and fix it, you launch and fix it, launch and fix it. You can wait until you have the perfect plan to go live. So you have to just launch the best you could do, and then start getting feedback and improve that.
It's so interesting hearing you talk about this, Marina, because it seems like your approach to mobility in a way mirrors an approach to software development, right? Where you're launching minimum viable product. Okay, there's some bugs. Let's fix it. Let's launch 2.0. Let's launch 3.0. Voice of the customer. Let's listen. Let's come back and launch a new. So in a way, your mobility program, really echoes the cadence and iteration cycle of your business.
Exactly. It's like you're developing a software. And I think this slogan you hear a lot in this software development industry, which is you've got to build the plane while you are flying it, is exactly what happens in mobility. Like you are building the plane, but you are already on the air. But so it's exactly how it feels.
Do you feel like you get less advance notice maybe than other, like if you're at a different type of company because they need that engineer yesterday maybe?
Yeah.
And do you feel like you're always kind of like almost behind because, they already need them there? And then how do you deal with that?
Totally. Well, we have to find ways to hire these people really quick, even remotely in their home countries before their visa are ready for them to move, because we are in a very competitive market. It's not easy to find game engineers or game developers in the world. It's a very small market, and they are it's a very competitive internationally, so we need to make sure we get the right talent. So we need to run, otherwise someone else is going to do a better offer and we're going to lose that candidate. So
Awesome.
we are always running against time.
Awesome. I like that you got in the subject on how hard it is to find. How you guys attract? What is the attraction? What are the benefits? How you guys get to this professionals?
I think what I've seen usually, they value flexibility. So flexibility not only in terms of having like a flex budget, but flexible working hours or other things they can do on their own. They want to be, of course, well compensated financially speaking. So you have to have competitive salaries, or maybe if it's a senior level, like stock options or part of the company. And also the environment is really important. I feel like they are looking for an inclusive and an environment where they can be themselves. I think that's the trend now. Everyone is looking to work for a company where you can feel comfortable and where, I don't know, your sleepers just go work, So I think it's kind of the profile.
And correct if I'm wrong. It is a really young structure, or you have people from different ages, or it's just a bias that everyone is younger and I don't know.
Yeah, the majority is young, but you have people more experienced in the area as well, who work for Sony Electronics, for example, or for other companies that are well known and have years of experience in that market. But the big majority of our population is young, around 30 years old.
How do those demographics influence your policies and your benefits?
So yeah, we need to offer this flexibility. We need to think about a good environment, and we need to think about life quality. So, for example, providing an allowance for them to live close by the office, or a bike allowance for them to ride a bike to work. So you can improve their daily experience. The traffic here in São Paulo is really crazy. So we need to try to think on those small things that could make their life stressful, and try to make it a better daily experience, because they are also looking for a good experience. And overall, despite the age, I think we need to address the challenge we have here in Latin America, which is the bureaucracy, which Mariana already mentioned, and the language barrier. So you need to work those out to try to offer a smooth experience to the transferees despite their ages. This is going to be something that is going to stress.
I think there's part of Vanessa's question here too, because she asked kind of like a couple of questions within the question here, and she asked something I thought was very interesting, right? So you joined a company that's kind of young, in their development as a company, right? And they recognize obviously a need to have a global mobility expert on staff, right, to really build this program. But her question at the end is, how did you have the board on your side to this challenge, right? And I think that this is a question that I hear constantly being asked within global mobility communities. How do we get a seat at the table? How do we get our voice heard? How do we advance this agenda of global talent management? What were those challenges like for you joining the company, and how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, it is a daily exercise, to be honest. It's not that you have 100% everyone by your side. You are constantly being questioned. They want to see numbers, so you need to show them data. And I always try to work with numbers. So I show this is how much you need to invest to bring someone from the US, for example. So if you want just to save $2,000 in that specific case, you can compromise the whole investment. So because in the end, it kinds of, this little saving might be compromising the whole investment. So I try to work that way. I try to bring the recruiters to my side.
Why is that important? Sorry, Marina, but why is bringing the recruiters to your side? Yeah, why is that important?
Because once they know the role of global mobility, they start counting on you more. So they know they can count on you. So they will share more the information. You will receive that with more advance. You might be able to advise them, like, don't go this way because it's not going to work well. So once we start working close with the recruiters, they started talking to us much earlier. Before doing the offer letters, and some of that we could address before you actually do the wrong the wrong proposal. So everyone is on the same page, and you kind of standardize all the offers, right? But it's difficult because you need to bring everyone by your side. So it is kind of you need to go day by day. So one day you do partnership with one team, the other day with another one, and you need to be patient and explain and re-explain and show examples.
I think that's so smart, though, because what you're talking about is you're talking about kind of going upstream in the decision-making process. I think that the problem that a lot of my friends who kind of share or sit in a similar seat as you and have a similar role as you is they'll complain that they don't get notified about relocations until it's too late. And it's a very reactive thing where it's like, here's so-and-so, get them to this country, get them here by, next month or whatever, right? And they're like, well, you just gave me this requirement, but it's messed up. There's problems that are inherently here that they're based on decisions that they've already made. And so to your point of getting ahead of it and making sure that the offer is crafted correctly and kind of becoming more of a strategic level advisor to the talent management organization, I mean, I think that's brilliant. How did you, as a person who's new to the company, you've been there 10, well, I say new, I don't know if this is new or not based on your company, but you've been there 10 months. How did you forge those kinds of relationships with the people in talent, with the recruiters who are kind of the salespeople of HR? How did you do that?
So first, I gotta say, Marina Barros, she has something to do with that, because when I arrived there, I thought, how I'm gonna launch global mobility department, because people need to know there is now a global mobility department and that we are here and what we do. So I thought I need to do some sort of event or something like where I can bring people and show them a little bit of what global mobility is. And then I knew Mariana, not in person, but I've I have heard about her a lot and her work. So I got in touch with her and said, Mariana, let's do like a workshop, intercultural workshop here, because I want to reunite some foreigners for them for us to launch the global mobility department. And and she told me, let's invite as well not only the foreigners but other people who work with foreigners, and then we reunite a list of people that the public that we thought could be like decision makers, and we invite them all to the workshop. So the first workshop was, we didn't have many attendees. We had, I think, 5 people, but there was one expat that I knew he was kind of he would influence others, and another person that I really needed to influence. And after the workshop, I talked to him and he was like, I just love that. It was amazing. And then I told him, can I ask you a favor? Spread the word. So tell about the workshop and how much you like it. And he did that. He just sent an email to his boss, who was the VP at the time that I wanted to attract. And the VP said, okay, let's do another workshop next month, and everyone from my team needs to attend.
Nice.
So yeah, and then Mariana unfortunately didn't participate on the second one because she was in China, but Adrienne from her team appeared, and it was, we had many other attendees, and then everyone started hearing about global mobility, and we started being heard.
I love that, because it's like sometimes people give you a compliment and it's like, hey, don't tell me, tell your boss, tell your boss, and then it spreads. That's fantastic.
Awesome. You're going on the questions? I thought that you went there that you were going for questions.
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, let's give a couple more shout outs here, real quick here. Janet. Oh, Janet's asking, what genre of games does Wildlife Studios create?
We have all kinds of games. Actually, we have the Tennis Clash, but it's all mobile. All games for mobile platform. So you have games for tennis. You have Sniper, which is for those who like to shoot. You have Zuba, which is the animals that are running from the zoo. You have Math Learner, which is for kids, for them to learn math. And you have Colorfy for people who likes to paint. We have more than 70 games.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was making my research, I was really impressed because I'm not really into, I don't play games, but I was just thinking about video games and all that. And when I saw the learning, the math learning, the painting stuff, I was just like, that's so vast. There's a lot of options. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's a different public, for example, because the Colorfy, you see a lot of ladies that are on their 50, 60 at home, and they like to paint. It's a different profile.
Yeah, it was exactly what I thought, because I was thinking like, okay, they are probably really young and they are all about like shooting, soccer, or I don't know. And then I saw how many different options, and I was just thinking, okay, this goes from really young age until people with, doesn't matter, you don't have limits, because you can just fit for everyone. And nowadays everyone has a mobile, so everyone can play. I love it.
Mariana chimes in and she says, not at all. It was your idea. Having the idea to start with intercultural intelligence was your strategy, and I'd love to help you with that. That's fantastic. And then Jorge kind of talks about, do you incorporate games in your trainings?
Not yet, but I had we thought about maybe do an app for them to try to learn more interactive. But for this, we would need a engineering, software engineering, and they are so busy doing other things that they don't really want to help us with our training as of now. Maybe in the future.
We got some people checking in here. Hey, Mark from Switzerland, Jamie from Mississippi.
Hey, Laurie.
Hey, Laurie.
Francine from St. Louis.
Carol.
My number one fan checking in with me again. I'm sure this is for me. Let's see here. We got a bunch of folks checking in here. Let's see here. Amanda has a question. You have mentioned that the Latin America region is different and the client is pushing to have seated global mobility employees. Could you kindly elaborate more on this part?
Yeah, I think 2012 was a moment that Brazilian economy was very strong. We were growing and we were in our top, I can say that. So we were receiving lots of foreigners in our region. And because of the volume of those assignments, I think the companies started to realize how difficult it was to manage assignment here in our region, because there are differences that are difficult to be handled if you are seated in the US or in the UK, for example, if you are not actually living here. The same way it's difficult for me to handle assignments in the US, for example. I had to do some, but it's not ideal if you have a big volume of people moving into that region and you are seated in another country. You have never been into that country. You don't know the rules. You don't know how things works daily. So I think it was because of the volume of assignments, and we started being more important economically speaking at that time, and then the companies start to looking at our region with more love.
So how do you manage assignments? You said you have 3 offices in Silicon Valley, and we actually have people checking in here from Silicon Valley. How do you manage those assignments, to your point, that are maybe even in country? Maybe you hire someone, and I don't know if you do or not, but maybe you hire someone from Boston to move to your Silicon Valley office. How do you manage that?
Yeah, our offices in the Silicon Valley are still very new, so we still don't have many movements there. We are still very with big volume in Brazil and Ireland. In Ireland, there is a team there that they help us with the daily things, but we are trying to bring that to Brazil. So we definitely will need some partner, some global partner to help us with this strategy, because indeed it's very difficult. And in the US, we were doing our first transfers from Brazil to the US when Trump just did the proclamation. So now we have one L1 approved, but we are not able to stamp the visa, and the other one is on hold. So maybe in January we'll look back at that.
And with this whole pandemic thing, how was the impact? Did it really impact? Everyone could work from home, they can be productive? How is?
Well, it was a huge impact, actually, because you had many assignees in the limbo, and they were ready to transition to their host country when the borders closed. So we had to quickly find a way to hire those people remotely. But we have a great partner that was able to help us. They are very fast and very flexible. And the good part of it is, once we established the strategy and hired all these people remotely temporarily until we are able to move them, now we have time for the house search. So this is such a dream, because you usually don't have much time, to look into the profile, what the assignee is looking for. So it's easier for you to align the expectations when you have time to work on that. But it was crazy months. It has been crazy months. And now when the border is going to open, you have just like 19 people to move at the same time. So, yeah.
So you guys are not considering virtual assignments?
I think it's hard to say that you will not think about it, because it is already happening. But I think it is still uncertain how this will be regulated, how this would really differ from regular working home country with some interactions with a global team. Like, I don't know how we are going to measure when it's a virtual assignment and when is just a regular work with some interactions with a global team. And because at Wildlife, most of our transfers are permanent transfers, so it is difficult to replace the permanent transfer by virtual. But I think, of course, in some instances, it's going to appear for temporary work, maybe. I don't know, like, I think we need to think about it, of course, but I still think the regular traditional assignment will remain. We are going to have like a hybrid model. That's what I think.
So I have a question for you, Marina. Let's say before COVID and everything got weird, but looking at your policy today, how is your policy structured? So I'm very familiar with, say, policies from the US, right? Because that's my perspective, and I think a lot of people who are watching might be from that perspective, and they'd like an insight into Brazilian policies, or maybe even what's typical in South America, if we could derive that. What types of policies do you offer, and what types of benefits do you consider standard benefits?
We have the core benefits, like the same you have in any country: immigration, tax, assistance for finding a house. I think what differentiates in Brazil, especially, for example, is the cell phone, because it is very difficult for a foreigner to purchase a cell phone in Brazil without a
Jana
CPF.
had that. She was telling me that
story. So we had to think about it. Okay, let's just give a cell phone for 1 year, so we don't have that headache. It's so cheap, and that's gonna make their life so much easier. So you just give them a SIM card and they are able to connect right away. So I think this is one of the things. The language training is something very important for Latin America, that maybe to Dublin and the US is not so important, because people relocating there already speak English. And I think all the settling assistance for housing as well, because services in Brazil, they are very challenging. You are going to call the internet provider, they are going to schedule a date with you, and they will just not show up on the date schedule. So
and even the schedule is like they don't schedule like for, okay, it's going to be 3 p.m. They will say morning time, afternoon. It's just crazy.
Business hours.
Business hours, and you just
in this month I'm gonna show up.
So in a situation like that, if they're trying to get internet connected at their house, right, and they can't, and they don't show up when they're supposed to, I mean, can employees just say, hey, I have to go meet the internet person at my house, and then they don't show up, and they come to you and say, actually, they said they're going to come tomorrow, can I go home again? Like, is that okay? Like, I mean, I guess if everybody understands that's how the internet people work, I mean, is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, when you have a DSP that helps you with that, the DSP keeps calling the internet service provider each hour to make sure he's going to show up. So I think that's the challenge. You need to be give this extra hand holding when you are moving people to Brazil because of those small nuances that sounds ridiculous, but it happens and generates lots of stress.
Oh my gosh, it's funny because we were interviewing a DSP yesterday, and I'm like, oh, it sounds interesting, and I didn't realize half of her job was just sitting on people's couches waiting for the internet guy to show up. I didn't realize, Gabrielle, you sound so like, and then I'm just realizing you're just waiting for the internet the whole time.
That's totally true. Like it's one of our biggest pains here are the internet services provide internet and phone.
It was just the internet provider, but like the service, normally we will have to wait. And they will schedule and not show up. It is a lot of waiting involved.
Yeah.
And then so for household, so I'm a mover, so I'm always interested in household goods, right? And I see Fernando's watching too, right? So I'll ask a question he's probably thinking too. So do you typically move all household goods? Do you typically cap it at a certain weight or a certain cost? Do you offer storage typically? I mean,
we didn't include in our policy because we know how household goods also give such a headache. And it's very expensive. So what we did, we have this flex budget, and sometimes the assignee, he wants to bring shipment. So then we say you can use the flex budget to bring a shipment, but then it is his responsibility to find the provider, to negotiate the cost, the terms, the insurance, because we are very worried about the employee experience, and we know household goods is something that always generate, especially if it's international and to Brazil. You as a mover, you know how much time it takes for a shipment to arrive here. Sometimes it's like 4, 5, 6 months. So, but most of them want to bring shipment and they use their flex budget. So we give some suggestions on providers and they get in touch. If they are really VIP, so then we intermediate that communication to make their life a bit easier.
Okay.
But it's not something core. It's on the flex.
That's so interesting because in the United States, I think that most policies would consider household goods a core benefit. But maybe that's also just my perspective as a domestic first provider versus international first. I do some international, but not as much. Yeah. Very interesting.
Because when it's international, Ben, there are so many bureaucracy and documents involved, and it takes a lot of time. So you have to do customs clearance in home, and then customs clearance in Brazil. Then customs in Brazil is going to take a long time. Things will disappear during the inspection, during the clearance. So
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the comments.
The comments are so funny because the mover's like, no, what do you mean? It's not that hard. Please call me. Please call me. I have to pay my internet provider. Give me a call. Fernando says all will be explained on Friday, and if I don't explain it well, Fernando's saying at least we have caipirinhas and Gary's got a pisco sour, from Peru. And
I'm gonna send Fernando's contact to the employees next time.
Look at that! Look at Fernando picking up some moves there already. And Janet's also saying, "Don't jump the gun talking household goods." Janet's also a great forwarder as well. And then the whole time, my girlfriend is laughing in the background. So wonderful. Excellent.
Okay, getting back on bias, gaming industry, you were a woman working there. How is that? Do you have a lot of women in the industry? Not as much. How that works? I saw something in the website about Women Plus, something like that. So how is the industry? How is the space for the women?
Yeah, this industry is in majority males. There are very few women still that have experience with game developing, but because we know how important it is to generate more inclusion and have a better balance on that, we have this group, Women Plus Plus, that all the women of the company are part of it, and they are bringing women to talk about it, and then the leadership is really engaged to change that scenario and bring more women to work at Wildlife and have a better balance. And there are also other groups for inclusion, like the Pride, Wild Pride, and you have the one for Black people. So we are doing everything we can to make the environment more inclusive, but it's a long path. We know the industry still have more men.
Yeah, but the culture of like having younger people makes it easier or not really?
I think
You're more open.
it's the same. Like, it's difficult to be a woman in a place where there are more men. But I don't think this is only at Wildlife. I think
Definitely
in
not.
general, we as women already feel that. So overall in the society, I mean, so of course it is painful, but I think we are being heard at least, and we are trying to, make this movement to be listening and have and sit at the table, like you
You were
said
there.
earlier. Yeah.
You were
No,
there.
but I mean the table, the board. Not there yet.
Andrew Bruzy saying brilliant insights, Marina. Selection can be more important than implementation. He's talking about the earlier comment here. And then we have Vinny, who's also jumping the gun, and he's already opening the bottle. No, Vinny, it's not happy hour yet. And then actually we have a good question here from Fernando. And it's not about can I have moves. It is actually, how do you retain the talents? It is a very competitive market. Normally the gaming generation is not attached to anything. So yeah, so you're building a company, you're looking for talent. Talent's very hard, and then you get these young talented individuals. How do you keep them there?
Yeah, I think part of the culture of the company is to make people feel welcome. First of all, feel that their ideas are being listened and that they are part of the process. Because I want this generation, I think this generation is not only looking for money or for benefits that are tangible. I think they are looking to work in a place where they can find a purpose, where they can feel valued, where they can feel they are making a difference. So when you give autonomy to people to do that and show their work and incentive and make them to be creative and bring the ideas, and when you are working on a game and you see the release of the game, I think all that makes you feel well. And I think people see that the company is working to improve and be better every day. We have our meetings every week with the board, so the communication on what's being done is very frequent. So people, I think they feel they are being heard and cared.
Nice. Yeah, sorry. From where most of your expats come from? There's a special place, or not necessarily? You have people from all over for real.
We have from all over. Like, there is not like a really a special place, but we have many from the US, from UK, but we have all over Argentina, Ecuador, Chile,
Nice.
France. So it's pretty diverse, I think.
Multicultural.
Yeah.
And none of those people get a move. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So they do
I don't care if
get a
Fernando
move.
gets any business. I don't care. I'm just messing with you.
No, they do get a move, but we just don't manage. They are doing.
Andrew Bruzzi saying you can check out Girls Who Code for Developers. They are a great group. There you go. That'll get you in good with the talent recruiters. And we got some other comments here. We got time for a couple more questions. If anybody wants to put some questions in the comments, we will make sure we get to you here. Francine Drusty has a comment interesting that it's difficult to get something that is so essential as a cell phone. Kudos to you for giving those to your employees and making it easier for them. That's something I would never really think. I say that I got a company cell phone right here, but I wouldn't. I got it not because it's hard to get a cell phone, but because my boss wants to track my movements. Wants to facilitate me calling people. But I guess that's what's interesting. I think sometimes is looking at what benefits are offered or aren't offered and what's valued in different countries. Are there any other benefits that you think might be unique to Brazil, to Sao Paulo, to your company based on the demographic or anything?
I think the flex budget is still a trend that is new in the market. I know some companies are moving into that direction to give more flexibility to the employees. So I think this is where we differentiate, because in the end, each person will have a different necessity, and it is difficult for you to predict everything that everyone will need, because one will want to bring the pet, the other will want to bring the move, and the other will want to bring the, will want to purchase furniture. So you have all kinds of profiles, and if you don't have a flex policy, you are going to get many exceptions. It is difficult to have the budget control. When you work in a startup, the cost control is something really important. So you need to have control over the expenses. And establishing a flex budget is the best way to respond to different needs by establishing a limit on cost.
So when the flex budget scenario or policy, is the company paying the service provider on the behalf of the employee?
Yeah.
So if that employee does say, yes, I would like to do a move, let's say, and then you will pay that and they'll just deduct it from the budget. Does that change the taxability? Because in the United States, the taxability of things like this has changed recently. And the way that those benefits are procured, bought, purchased, determines how it's taxed. So is it taxed as income in Brazil, or is it not income because it's paid for by the company?
It depends on the nature of the benefit you are offering. That's why you cannot offer like anything. It needs to be within a certain list that is not taxable, that the government will understand as like a one-time allowance. So it's a help for you to move, and it's not considered remuneration. So it's not considered part of their salaries. So you need to pay attention on what type of benefits can be included in that budget. The other option is just to pay like a one-time allowance at the first paycheck, and you don't need to collect taxes on top of it as well, and then the employee manage on their own.
Kind of like what we would consider a lump sum, I guess, or
lump sum.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. We don't have time, Jana. We don't have time. Don't get me started on this, okay? Maybe with some alcohol, maybe with Gary. If Gary comes through with the Pisco Sours, maybe we get into some lump sums. I'll roll my sleeves up and we'll get into it. But not right now. Fernando's promising to win you over. I love when there's love. when there's love and a little desperation in the comments, it just really, I love it. Very, it's the mark of a good show. Nicole Barilli, hola, Marina. And let's see, Mariana says, having worked for international companies before, do you see any important difference in working for a Brazilian company in terms of corporate culture or behavior? Great question.
Mariana, why didn't you advise your good? I think yes, it is different because the first thing I think is different is because when you are working for a Brazilian company and you are the headquarter, it feels like you are the center of attention and your ideas and you are in the spotlight, let's say like that. When I was working for an American company, we were kind of a very small region with the lower number of assignments. So we were kind of, okay, do whatever, but we are not going to give any other workforce, or we don't have time to change that because we have a huge move here in Asia and this is more important. So you are always left aside. So I think there is a difference that in terms of focus, when you are in a Brazilian company, you are the headquarters. So I think you will have more voice, and then you have the problem with the direct and indirect speech, because Brazilians, they are very indirect, so you have to read between the lines what they are really want to say. They don't give many bad feedbacks, like it is hard for the managers to say bad things or show you areas for improvement. So it is kind of, and I think when you are working with an American company, it is more direct. It is more objective. You know exactly what needs to be done and where you need to improve to get there. So, and Brazil is more like a relationship based, and you need to build those relationships. You need to be a pleasant person all the time. So this is very important. I think that's, I don't know, but I think the culture of wildlife is different. I don't feel we are really in a Brazilian company. I know there are some characteristics, some things from Brazil, but I feel like we are more global because we have people from all over, and that's give a little bit of mixed.
Sure.
And just out of curiosity, how wildlife started? Like, was just like a guy who really liked games and just like, okay, let's. I would just create 70, and people will just download it. What
It was
both
it was
an idea, or just happened?
it was kind of that, like there are two brothers, Arthur and Victor. They were both engineering, and they decided, one was working in the consulting industry for business, and the other was in the finance industry, I think. And one day they decided, let's try to launch a game, like 9 years ago. Let's try to do a game. And at that time, it was still BlackBerry. That we didn't have like the iPhone. So they did the first game, and they decided to launch for free because they wanted to have followers. So I think they spent like 4 months in their mom's house, like doing the developing by watching videos on YouTube on how to develop games.
Wow.
And then they create the first one, which was launched for free. And then they had so many people downloading. It was like one of the biggest downloads, games downloads in the world. So then they said, oh, okay, I think that might work. So they started bringing more people they knew, and growing the company, and the business start growing and never stop. So they create more and more games.
That's interesting. I can imagine that waking up and having your game downloaded so many times, you look at each other like, I guess we have a different career now all of a sudden, right? True or false? The biggest difference between working for an international company and working for a Brazilian-based company, true or false? We like to party more than others.
We have a lot of parties. We have many events, happy hours, and parties. Even remotely.
I like when I said to you, so how did you get that buy-in from the other part of the organization? You're like, I threw a party and I invited an intercultural party and I invited all these people. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, basically said I threw a party. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think we throw enough parties in the US. I think that's an opportunity for us.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah. Vinny is rewriting the Brazilian slogan, work hard, play much harder. Oh, Vinny, I love you, man. Nicole here, Nicole Barilli. I've worked a lot with American companies working in Brazil, and you're right, Marina. Communication style is the biggest obstacle. And yet, the intercultural expert agrees with Vinny that the real answer is we like to party more than others. and so, you know, it's all over the board there. But this is great. Jana, this has been a wonderful conversation. Marina, I really appreciate you sharing so much about the culture of Wildlife Studios, about your mobility program, about some of the challenges and successes that you've had there in your early career there. And it's been really fascinating. I love the perspective. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much, Marina, for accepting the invite, for bringing this, all these details and different perspectives from the startups. Truly appreciate it, and looks like everyone did as well.
Thanks to you, Ben, Jana, Juliana as well, who was the first who contacted me for this show, and everyone watching. It was amazing. It was a great pleasure being here with you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invite.
And thanks everybody who chimed in with questions. We really appreciate it. Jana, do you want to tell everybody who we have on tomorrow?
Yes. Tomorrow, our invite will come from Colombia. It will be Sylvia. Yes, awesome. It's not only about Brazil, guys. Tomorrow I have Sylvia from Colombia. She works in the mining industry. She will be here with us. We are really excited. So guys, stay connected. Same time, we will be here. I just want to say one thing. Besides tomorrow, as we are just connecting everyone, right? Tomorrow here in Brazil, we have this webinar that will be Brazil Talks. It will be in Portuguese, but they will be talking about corporate practice. It will be at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Brazilian time. So I would like to invite everyone in the name of the talkers. So 2 invites. Check on the Brazil Talks and check us out in the afternoon. We'll be here.
What time is Brazil Talks again?
10 a.m. Eastern time, 11 a.m. Brazilian time.
And where can they find that?
Brazil Talks, they can search on LinkedIn. They will see the profile, and that will be the details to just connect, and they will be on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Sounds great. Look at Brazil just everywhere right now.
Yeah, we are all over. We have some great professionals. I told you.
I love it. It is not disappointing. I'm so excited. Marina, thanks again. Thanks to all the folks who joined us today and chimed in and left great questions. And to my wonderful, illustrious co-host, Janaína, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Ben. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks also, Janet Turner, backstage there. Appreciate you, Janet.